Step 6. Load and use the Trap American fixed layout. As we enter, we see here clearly in our picture that we're looking at American Trap doubles. Now let's see how we bring in Trap American fixed. We're going to go to File, the upper left hand corner, click on Layouts, and then in the panel that opens, it's been segmented in a new way. It's pretty efficient. Basically, there is a group of layouts that fall into the category of most recently used. Then there's an area under which you'll find all of the trap layouts, whether they're American, some other nationality, or Olympic. Then you'll find a category called skeet layouts, and all of the skeet layouts will fall under that category. And then finally, sporting clay layouts. And I should say that then all of them will be given once more in this all layouts. It includes everything that's in the system from there on down. What I'm going to suggest you do, since you're watching this because you're a trap shooter, I think the simplest thing for you to do is to go up here and type in the filter, we're going to type in the word Trap American. And when we do that, the choices become much less. We can see that of the 4 that were in the most recently used, the skeet one has now been eliminated and they're all trap. And then we have all American Trap layouts in the Trap Layouts category, and then finally in the All Layouts we again have all the Trap Americans. So this should simplify it for you. And then what we're going to do for this demonstration is I want you to click on Trap American Fixed. And now we're into Trap American Fixed. And the first thing that I'm going to do then is go into the upper left to the target area and click the down arrow, and you're going to see 11 things that you can do in here. The last 10 have to do with specific targets on specific stations, either going to the right or the left. And the second thing is the top one, which is a round, and if you clicked round, then your first target would be station 1 left, your second target would be station 1 right, and it works its way on down through the 10 targets, and then it's ready to repeat. I'm going to put this down on station 5 right, and when I do that, I want you to watch in the middle and see how the screen rotated, and now we're viewing from station number 5. Now the next thing I want to do is go up to Setup, and we're going to come down to something that you've done many times before, ATA Trap Layouts, and this takes you to a little bit different looking version of the 3 windows that we've always used to adjust the trap house. And in this case, it's trap angle, trap throwing distance, and intermediate height, which are correct for ATA trap. If they were not correct, you can click on default, or if you want to set them to whatever angles you want, you can do that. So I'm going to click on defaults, click on yes, and now I'm basically ready to go. The first thing that I'm going to do here is I'm now going to come up and I'm going to click on the start button, and now I'm going to release a target. It's now flying across the wall, and because I didn't shoot at the target, a message comes up in the lower left hand corner, and this is what I want you to focus on. This will also always give you all of the information about every shot you take, and I find it's much easier to deal with the bigger it is. And the way to make that bigger is to go into the lower left portion of your keyboard and find the key that says Alt, and hold that down with one finger, while on the right hand side of the board of your keyboard, over by the numbers, you can find a plus sign. And every time you tap on the plus sign, this grows bigger and bigger and bigger, and I'm going to take it all the way up to maximum size, which is right there, and I'm going to leave it that way. This is going to be much easier for me to see as I'm shooting. All right, now the next thing that I want to do is I want to go on up here to the shooters area and make sure that the appropriate shooter is in here, in this case Dry Fire Bob. And then I want to pick out of the guns that Dry Fire Bob has already coded into the system, what gun does he want to use. And in this case there's 2, and I'm going to use the trap singles, so now that's all proper. Now the next thing that I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to align my gun and make sure that it's at least fairly accurate before I start doing some shooting. So I'm going to click on the Align button, and now there's a laser on the wall which I'm going to cover and pull the trigger. Now as soon as I did that, the screen in the center changed for a choice of check, and I'm going to click on check, and I'm going to shoot again. Okay, so I shot twice. You saw those in the center. And actually this is going to be close enough for what I'm going to do. So the gun is something like about 2 inches off of being perfect, and it's shooting a little bit high. Now, if I click on the OK button, now my gun has been aligned and I know that it's operational. And now I'm basically ready to start releasing a target and taking a shot. Now, before I do that, I'm going to do one more thing. I'm going to tap on the F8 function key, F8. And now over here, I want to take a look and make sure that my floor arrangement is what is really in my room. And if I click on that, right now it says that it's at 98 inches. And in step 2, we went through a lot to explain how to do this. You should realize by now that if it's not correct, click on the configure room. Come over here and click on the, again, you're making sure that you're in the move around the room prioritized anchor alignment mode, that you've got the right shooter's eye height in here. Click on recalculate, then click on edit distance. Make sure, in my case, I've got 108 in there. Click OK, and then when I click OK on this configuration room panel, it's going to make a change up here, and now if I go up and click on the station 3, it shows I'm 108 inches away. So now I'm really ready to go. And another part of what we're going to be looking at is the scorecard area down here. As I take shots, you're going to be able to see how I am scored on what I'm doing. Now, if this button up here is not saying finish, if it simply is saying start, then make sure you click it until it says finish. In other words, it's in the mode ready to accept targets. So I'm going to call for some targets and start shooting them. Pull. All right, you can see I missed the first target. Can you see how big and nice the air information is? And also over on the scorecard area, can you see that it was recorded that I had a miss? Now again, pull. And I failed to shoot on that target completely. Pull. All right, I hit that target pretty good. Notice that the pointing error says that I was 5.4 inches from dead center. It then tells me I was 2.5 inches above dead center, and I was 4.8 inches to the left. It also shows me that the distance was 33.66 yards, and the time the target was in the air was 0.95 seconds. All right, and then take a look up here where you can see that on the scorecard it shows that I missed the first target. I've now hit the second target. Now I'm just going to shoot a few more targets. Pull. 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 Okay, so you've seen each and every time that I've done that on the scorecard, if I get a green square, it recorded that I hit it. If I get a red X, I obviously missed it. Now, one other thing that I'd like you to take notice of here. If you do not need to be looking over here at the scorecard portion, one of the things that you can do to remove the conflict between this big viewing air information and where the clay is being portrayed on the screen is to come up here and click the X or touch the F8 key again, and now you can see that it reorganizes itself. So now I can have this very big panel in the lower left hand corner that's easier for me to see from my shooting position, and I have this nice up close view of the clay target itself. So let me demonstrate that one more time. If I hit F8, notice the conflict between the corner of the panel and the target. If I remove this sidebar by hitting F8, I get this. So now I'm going to shoot a few in this mode. This is my suggested way for you to do it. Pull. 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 All right. So that's my demonstration as to how to use the ATA fixed. I think you're going to find that all of the layouts in the trap area are that simple. Just remember those fundamentals. Now for those of you who like the science behind shooting, I'm going to show you a very scientific thing that dry fire has done with our stop motion area. Now let me begin. First of all, I'm going to click finish so that I'm no longer in the shooting mode. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and go over to this thing called, it says target position. And if I click on that and begin to slide it to the right, you're going to see the required lead. What is actually going to happen here is you're going, I'll kind of do it. Here, watch see the target coming out of the trap house right now, and it's moving down the trajectory. If I keep moving this slide bar, it goes all the way over and lands on the ground. Well, let me bring that all the way back to the beginning, and let's take a look at the science that's going on here. All right, now, in a moment here, you'll see there's the clay just now being visible coming out of the trap house. And if you look down in the area where it talks about the required lead, it says that, and this is based upon the way my gun is set up, and my gun is set up right now to shoot 8 inches high at 33 yards. If I could shoot at that target right now, at the moment it's coming out of the trap house, according to the required lead area, I would have to shoot 8.3 inches above it, even though my gun shoots 8 inches high. And I would have to shoot 1 foot 8.1 inches to the right of it. Now, let me slowly move that target on out, and notice that as I move it, these numbers are changing in the required lead. So here is the first time in your life you have dynamically seen both the required vertical and horizontal leads change as the target flies out down its trajectory. Now, if that isn't cool, I don't know what is. So for those of you who are very scientific about this, also notice down there I backed it up. The target is now 21.2 yards from the muzzle of my gun. The time is 0.25 hundredths of a second, and it requires an additional 6.9 vertical lead over and above the POI in my gun, which is already set at 8 inches at 33 yards. Now, notice that the horizontal lead of 1 foot 7.9 inches to the right changes very little as I move on downstream in comparison to the vertical lead. And this is the things that I've been trying to show people now for quite a long period of time. And I finally got a tool that is really cool when it comes to show what I want to. Now, as I get out here, and I'm going to move that target until basically where I am right now, which is vertically, I need next to no vertical lead whatsoever because the 8 inches of POI in my gun is enough. Notice that the yardage is 32.01 yards and 85 hundredths of a second on this hard right on station number 1. And now my point of impact set in my gun of 8 inches means that I would, according to this, I would actually have to shoot 0.8 of an inch lower than the target to get a perfect vertical match. And yet at the same time, the horizontal lead from the time it has come out of the trap house has changed very little. It was 1 foot about 8 inches, and now it's just a little under 1 foot 7 inch. So this is what I wanted you to see. So you now have a way of being able to really look at targets and see exactly as the target dynamically flies down its trajectory, how the horizontal and the vertical lead changes. Now you can do this also here in the target toolbar. This is the same as the one at the top. So in other words, if I move this to the right, I go down the trajectory farther. If I go to the left, I come back on the trajectory, and I can stop it anywhere I want. Now, another thing that you can do with this is you can actually put in the exact time. For instance, instead of using the slide bar, suppose that I want to find out at 79 hundredths of a second down this target what kind of a lead it really takes. So I typed in 0.79 and it shows me the required lead with my POI is I'm perfect. In other words, if I aim vertically exactly at the target, the 8 inches that the target is going to rise before my pellets get there is compensated for by the 8 inches of POI that I have built into my gun. And that I need a horizontal, I've got to be to the right of the target, what amounts to 1 foot 6.9 inches. So is that pretty cool or is that pretty cool? Now, so you can do that with time. Also notice it tells you that that turns out on this target to be 45.23 feet down the trajectory for this hard right on station number 5. Suppose that it was 60 feet. So I'm going to type in 60 feet. What happens? Notice then that the target is quite a bit farther. In fact, it's now almost 36 yards down the trajectory. And with my gun that has an 8-inch POI, I would actually have to stay 4 inches under the target to get a vertical dead intersection. So basically, these are the controls that you have, and I think it's just a sensational way to be able to learn about targets. For instance, let's go one more step further. Let me go up here and what I'm going to set up for is a straightaway on station 3. I'm first going to go to ATA trap settings. I'm going to then come up here and change the trap angle to 0. Then after I've done that, I'm going to go up here and put myself on station 3, and it doesn't make any difference if it's station 3 left or right. Okay? And now let's go ahead and take the slider bar and see what happens. As we start coming out of the trap house, and I'm looking for, there it is, the target right there is just peeking above the trap house, and my gun has got an 8-inch point of impact, and besides that I would have to shoot 9.4 inches above that. Now, while I'm here, let me go over and I'm going to change guns. And I'm going to change to a different gun that I call flat gun. And flat gun, by my definition, and we'll go in and look at it, I have it set up so that at 33 yards, it's shooting 50-50. So with the flat gun, that basically is going to tell you the true vertical lead that you need on the target. So now let's go back and do the same thing. As the target is coming out of the house, and let's see, there it is. It's just coming out of the house. Notice that at that instant, if you had a gun that was flat at 33 yards, you would have to shoot 13.7 inches above the target, because that's how far it's going to climb vertically before your pellets get there. Now let's take this on out there. For instance, let's go out there to this 0.79 of a second and see what that is in terms of yardage. It's 32.93 yards. And so what does it tell me out here? It says that I'm going to have to point my gun 7.7 inches above the target. So that's why I like the idea of having an 8-inch POI built into the stock of my gun, so that when I come up on a straightaway from underneath, all I have to do is, when my bead is directly on top of the bird, I pull the trigger and the target climbs an additional 7.7 inches, and my gun is shooting 8 inches higher than where I'm pointing at that point, and I get a perfect vertical intersection. All right, well, that's it from Dry Fire Bob. I hope you've enjoyed this, and have fun now giving your V4 a try.